Al-Basit, Syria. The night of Wednesday, the 3rd of April, 1996. On a cliff top above the Mediterranean, 60 kilometers north of Latakia, a 58-year-old man in a linen suit eats the first meal in his own dining room. He has spent 3 years building this villa. 3 years of walls, wiring, plumbing, and locks he specified himself. The gate is walked by his own guards. The floodlights are on. The sea is closed to his west. And yet the sunset framed in his own picture window at 1853 that evening is the last one he will see. This is Operation Formwork. Before we open the file, subscribe to Blueprint Watch. This channel goes inside the operations the record still refuses to explain. Damascus, late 1992. Not the coast. The invented target, Munther Faris al-Zubaydi, is 54 years old and works from a first-floor office in the Yarmouk camp on the southern edge of the capital. He goes by the nom de guerre Abu Hilal, father of the Crescent, and he has held it since his mid-20s. He was born in Nablus in 1938. His family was displaced to Jenin in 1948, then to Amman for the middle years of his boyhood, then to Damascus in 1970. He has been in the Yarmouk offices ever since. His faction is small. It is an invented rejectionist splinter called the Vanguard for the rejection of concessions, in Arabic, Al-Taliya lil-Raft al-Tanazul, a low-tier break from the PFLP General Command in 1978 over a doctrinal quarrel. Membership sits in the low 3 digits, 2 floors above Yarmouk Street level, a single locked cabinet in the back office. The faction newsletter is mimeographed on a machine from the 1960s. Abu Hilal is not a militant. He is a finance officer. He runs the desk that handles European fundraising, correspondent bank movement, and courier finance for the faction's overseas operations. He speaks 4 languages: Arabic, English, French, German. In the late 1960s, he was sent by the faction to London and to West Germany for a documented private banking training. Quiet years in West German back offices, a year at a London firm, and then Damascus for the rest of his working life. 26 years inside the Damascus rejectionist milieu by the winter of 1992. In the file at Glilot, he is a paperman, not a shooter. He is the man who moves the money through European correspondent bank rails for a faction other people in the Yarmouk offices point at guns. The signature of the Oslo Accord on the 13th of September 1993 will formalize everything the Yarmouk offices already suspect. The PLO has, in their reading, sold the return. In January 1994, the 10 Damascus factions will bind themselves into the alliance of Palestinian forces to oppose Oslo. Abu Hilal's desk will run their money. It is a doubling of the workload his own health can no longer easily carry. But that is next year. In late 1992, the finance chief is thinking about his own ground. He has spent the last 4 summers as a guest on the Alawite coast of Syria, hosted by regime-adjacent friends between Latakia and the northern point at Ras al-Basit, and he has decided he will spend his older years on that coast. In the spring of 1993, he buys a private hilltop outright between the villages of al-Basit and Ras al-Basit, 60 kilometers north of Latakia. He hires a Beirut-trained architect off Rue Verdun in Ras Beirut named Jihad Barouki. He breaks ground in April. The paperwork on the transaction, a Syrian coastal property title and a Beirut architect's retainer, moves through the same Frankfurt correspondent bank rail as the faction's European donations, because it is the rail Abu Hilal knows how to keep quiet. The regime does not object. Investment Law Number 10, enacted in May 1991, has legalized the private capital moving back into Syria from the Gulf after the Kuwait War. Coastal ridges above Latakia are being built on by the Low Hundred. Abu Hilal's Ridge is one of them. The political security branch chief in Latakia files the property title without a second reading. In Tel Aviv, in a research division office at Glilot, an analyst named Michal Dagan, codenamed Petronia, opens a fresh file cabinet in the same month. Its label reads, Formwork. The first sheet inside it is a photocopy of the Rue Verdun architect's retainer, sent up through a Beirut asset the analyst has not yet met. It is worth pausing on the principle the operation is grown from, because the operation is nothing else. Any structure a target builds is drawn, photographed, and delivered to long before it is defended. The finished house is the last version of itself to be secret. Every earlier version, every draft plan, every mock-up, every fit-out invoice was legible to strangers he paid. A private villa built in the Levant of the mid-1990s runs, in the documented trade of the era, through 3 phases. Year 1 is foundation and structure. The architect signs off plans and elevations, the structural engineer signs off calculations, the local municipality signs off permits, and the paper of that year is the paper of the concrete. Year 2 is envelope and fit-out. Cladding, roofing, mechanical, electrical, plumbing. The paper of that year is the shop drawings, thicker sheets, wiring runs, plumbing schematics, air conditioning layouts, delivery manifests for tile pallets and sanitary ware crates. Year 3 is finishes and handover. Kitchen, joinery, security fittings, keys handed across. Each phase generates its own kind of paper. Each kind of paper passes through its own kind of clerk. Every clerk copies. On Rue Verdun in Beirut, on the first floor above a bank branch, Jihad Barouki's office runs the formwork paper on a card index file. His draftsman keeps every revision on a card index file, a working practice inherited from the pre-war offices of the Mandate era. A Latakia-based main contractor named Sami Debus is hired in June 1993 to run the site day-to-day for the whole 3 years. Debus in turn hires an Egyptian foreman with 21 years on Levantine builds. Anwar Salama, known on site by his kunya, Abu Naban. Abu Naban owns a Peugeot 405 saloon and drives it up the coast road from Tripoli every Sunday. A Damascus-trained Sparks, called Hakam Zaitouni, draws the electrical distribution board on graph paper in his own hand. In the Sparks shorthand, every apprentice in Syria was taught until the 1980s. A Beirut-based haulage driver named Ghassan Mardini runs a 15-ton Iveco Eurocargo up the coast road weekly for the whole build. The route is unglamorous. Karantina docks in the north of Beirut, up the coastal motorway through Cheka and Tripoli, through the Al-Arida border crossing at Al-Dabusia on the Syrian side, up through Tartus and Jableh, onto the coast road above Latakia, up the 800-meter hairpin drive to the ridge, 240 kilometers end to end, 10 hours through checkpoints in good weather, 12 hours in a Ramadan week. Every consignment is invoiced. Every invoice is a page. Every page has a copy. By November 1993, the concrete frame is up. The pour is delivered from the local cement works at Jableh, poured in a single continuous shift from 4 in the morning until the light went. By June 1994, the envelope is closed. The Latakia sandstone cladding is sourced locally. The roofing sheet is French, imported through Beirut. By August 1995, the plumbing and wiring are chased and terminated. By January 1996, the tile is laid. Italian ceramic on the ground floor, French oak parquet in the master bedroom and dining room. both routed through a single Sin El Fil warehouse. By the middle of February 1996, the villa is habitable. Somewhere in Nicosia, a filing cabinet is filling with photocopies of the draftsman's revisions, with delivery notes for tile pallets from a warehouse in Sin El Fil. And with wiring diagrams, a Damascus Sparks does not know have left his hand. Somewhere in Tel Aviv, Petronia's composite is a stack of shop drawings the target has never seen a copy of together. Abu Hilal has been up to the site 9 times in 3 years. He has never once been alone with a whole floor plan open on the table. Sin El Fil, East Beirut, an evening in May 1993. Rue Charles Malik, behind the auto showroom strip, at the point where the pre-war Christian Quarters warehouses give on to the reconstruction cranes of downtown. Warehouse of Nasur Trading, second generation. Corrugated roof, over 100 meters of tiled floor, a mezzanine office at the back, a cold store on the north wall, a Syriac icon in an alcove by the door. The head of the firm is Elias Nasur, mid-40s, tile and sanitary ware and kitchen finishes to the whole Levantine coast. He is Maronite Christian. He rebuilt the family firm out of the Civil War years and is standing back on his feet on the reconstruction wave under the Hariri government. A Tsamit officer walks into the warehouse office at 7 in the evening on cover as a Limassol marine fit-out engineer on a small standing order for bathroom fittings for a Cypriot yacht. The two men speak for an hour about tile. They speak for another hour about the 20th of January, 1976. That was the day Palestinian factions moved through Damour, the coastal Christian town south of Beirut. The killings that day are on the historical record. Elias Nasur's father, per an entry in an old Damour casualty roll the visitor has been given a photocopy of, was one of the men killed. Nasur was 26 years old that day, on a plumbing job in Ashrafieh, and he heard about his father from a cousin at the roadblock 2 days later. The visitor does not have to explain what a Damascus-based rejectionist finance chief spending his weekends on the Syrian coast means to Nasur. Nasur looks at him across the desk for a long minute. Nasur asks whether the man he is being asked to help ever set foot in Damour that January. The visitor says he does not know for certain, but the faction the man came up in did. Nasur says he will not carry a weapon. He will not cross a border. He will not handle a name he was not going to handle anyway. What he will do is copy paper. The recruitment closes in the same conversation. Nasur is booked on the Nicosia end as an asset. His code name in the file is Cinnamon. The signal traffic he will carry is unglamorous. Every tile order for the villa comes through his warehouse on a delivery note the shipper duplicates. The pallet count is the tell. 12 pallets is safe. 13 pallets is compromised. Abort. 14 pallets is go tonight. In the 3 years the villa is under build, the Nasur Trading Warehouse ledger will record 71 honest consignments to the Sami Debba's site on the ridge. Every one of them is real tile. Every one of them is paid for. The Debba's foreman signs for each pallet count on the delivery note at the Latakia gate. Nasur keeps a carbon copy in the warehouse ledger. A photocopy of every carbon leaves Sin El Fil the following morning in a manila envelope, in a plumbing supply crate destined for a Limassol yacht that never arrives. The Beirut Sayan Bashir Farah, a travel agent in the city, issues the paperwork that keeps a Cypriot marine engineering firm registered in Limassol looking like a plausible customer of Nasur Trading through the years. The firm exists. Its books close every quarter. Its accountant is on Rue Sursac in Ashrafieh and is real. He never learns his second biggest client is Somet. The Cyprus arm of the operation, in the file, is an accountant's ledger of 96 invoices, all paid in Cyprus pounds, all filed at the Limassol Chamber of Commerce, all deniable. Iskenderun, on the Turkish south coast, October 1993. The former Alexandretta, Arabic spoken in the harbor, Turkish spoken in the town. A small HVAC and plumbing subcontractor with an office of 2 rooms above a fishmonger on the harbor road is signed as the fittings partner for the villa's air conditioning units through a real Beirut mechanical engineering firm on a real contract. The subcontractor's owner is a Turkish citizen from a documented Iskenderun family. 3 decades in the trade, uncomplicated. He hires his fixtures inspectors from a small pool of Iskenderun Turks whose Arabic makes them useful across the Syrian border. His new fixtures inspector, taken on in October 1993, is a 39-year-old ethnic Arab-Turkish employee named Kemal Erdinç, presented on the papers as a distant cousin on the owner's mother's side. Kemal Erdinç has a real Turkish passport issued in 1990 at Hatay, a real ikamet tezkeresi, a real trade register entry as the firm's foreman, and a real invoicing history in Turkish lira through the Iskenderun branch of a Turkish state bank that clears in Beirut through a small correspondent bank arrangement. His Arabic is native. His Turkish is a Hatay accent that will pass in Ankara only under the story of a Syrian father. Kemal Erdinç is not what he appears to be. His real name is Yigal Baruchi. He is 5 years into junction. He was born in Netanya in 1954 to Turkish Jewish parents from Istanbul. And his Turkish is native, a household language before it was ever a cover. The subcontractor owner in Iskenderun has been paid through a chain of small transactions the man himself would not recognize as Tel Aviv money, to keep the file straight and to ask no questions. He asks none. His placement is signed off on the same day in October by the Nicosia station's mission commander, a man named Yoav Hertz, whose code name in the file is Wallcreeper. Hertz will run the operation from a legal cover office in the old town of Nicosia for the whole 3 years. Baruchi's cover is not built for a fortnight. It is built for the whole build. He works as Erdinç on other Beirut and Latakia consignments through 1993 and 1994. He installs a mechanical plant room in a Bahabda apartment block. He inspects an air handling unit in a Junior restaurant. He signs for a boiler delivery in a Tartus school. Every job is real, every invoice is paid. Every hour on the site rebuilds the man Kemal Erdinç is in the eyes of the trade. He goes to the ridge above Al-Basit for the first time in June 1994 on a legitimate fixtures inspection for the villa's first-floor air handling units. He drives up from the coast road in a rented Nissan Sunny with an Iskenderun trade plate. The site foreman Abu Naban meets him at the gate and walks him up the drive. He will go 13 more times over the 2 years that follow. He is inside the mechanical plant room. He is inside the wall voids where the pipes will run. He is inside the electrical distribution board's alcove. He is inside the master bedroom before the servants move in at 4 o'clock in the afternoon of a Wednesday in September 1995, alone with a clipboard. And he sits on the bed for a full minute with his eyes closed to feel where the sea light will fall from the picture window. He gets up and continues the inspection. His code name in the file is Rock Thrush. In Nicosia, at the end of every visit, he posts a set of the villa's shop drawings to an Iskenderun address that forwards to the station. Elias Nasur posts his own set of the villa's tile and sanitary ware manifests to a Cyprus-registered marine engineering firm. The 2 sets meet in Petronia's cabinet. By the end of 1995, the file at Glilot contains a composite floor plan of the villa nobody who has spent time in it. The architect, the contractor, the foreman, the target has ever seen assembled. The single most important sheet in the whole trail is a shop drawing from Jihad Baruki's office numbered S14, Revision B, sealed in November 1994. It is a wiring and mechanical detail sheet for the mechanical plant room on the villa's landward side, the room under the kitchen that houses the water tank, the boiler, and the electrical distribution board. On sheet S14, tucked into the top right corner and drawn to a scale of 1 to 5, is a keyway specification for the exterior plant room door. Baruki has included it so the sparks and the plumber can know the door will lock in the sequence their work needs. It is a Yale mechanical detail, a standard product of the era, drawn to shop drawing tolerance. The specification is complete. Pin depths, tolerances, cylinder length, shoulder profile. Erdens, on his November site visit, is handed a set of the shop drawings for coordination. He returns the set to the site trailer at the end of the day. In between, a set has been copied at a Latakia post office branch on the Corniche and posted to Iskenderun as a business fax attachment on the following morning. In Nicosia, in the same week, a set arrives from Elias Nasur, sent up separately through the Cypriot marine engineering firm because Nasur's sanitary ware plumbers need the same coordination sheet. The file has both sets by the first week of December. In January 1995, a Nicosia locksmith in the Old Town, a small shop that does standing account work for the Cypriot marine engineering firm, cuts a duplicate key from the specification on sheet S14 alone. He works from paper. He never touches a lock. He is paid in Cyprus pounds, in cash, at a lunch counter around the corner. The key goes into a Cyprus safe in the Old Town office at Wallcreeper's request. It sits there for a year and 3 months. Nobody outside Hertz, the locksmith, and one duty officer knows the key exists. Barushi files a private note to his handler at the end of that November visit. Legend drift is the intelligence service word for it. 3 months into the Kemal Erdin's identity, at the end of a 15-hour shift in a mechanical plant room in a country he is not from, he catches himself thinking of the villa as the house, not the target's house, the house. He writes in the note that he has taken to reading the shop drawings the way a man reads his own family album. The Sparks shorthand, a familiar handwriting. The pipe runs a route he could walk in the dark. He asks in the note whether the case officer should rotate him out and put a fresh face on the next quarter. The case officer, a Nicosia legal cover officer running the placement, writes back a single sentence. You are the man who has been incited. Stay. He stays. Elsewhere, in the spring of 1995, an intercepted Beirut telex from Abu Hilal to a West German correspondent bank arranges the transfer of the final tile installation payment, moved through a West German private bank rail he has been running since his London years. A private line at the foot of the telex, meant for the target's wife Sohaila, and copied by nobody the target intended, asks her to make sure the Fairuz cassette he wants ready for the first evening in the dining room is in the villa's box of records. The line is filed in the target biographical folder at Glilot, with a translator's annotation in the margin. Personal. Target's opening night music. The Wallcreeper channel receives a copy the following week. Fit-out closes in February 1996. While Chalhub, the target's aide of 10 years, takes the standing order for the opening week fittings from a small notebook Abu Hilal has kept beside his desk in Yarmouk since the previous summer. A Bang & Olufsen full stereo cabinet installation, a documented 9-piece delivery of the era, a 6-hour installation for a hi-fi and television combined into one Danish walnut and steel cabinet, a satellite dish and a receiver for the roof, aimed at Arabsat 1C for MBC out of London, a Bosch stainless barbecue for the outdoor kitchen on the roof terrace. All 3 orders route in the fitness of the trade through Beirut suppliers. The stereo installation is booked through a Nasur trading referral chain that ends at a Sofia-based audiovisual firm called Petrov Audio. Bulgarian technicians have been undercutting West European engineers on the Levantine coast for 2 years now on the reciprocal Bulgarian-Syrian trade agreement of the era. The trade is documented, the accents are unremarkable, and the vetting a Syrian household security officer does on a Bulgarian technician is thinner than the one he would do on a Frenchman. The technician sent is Guy Melamed, 34 years old, real name unspoken outside the compartment. His cover legend is Todor Petrov of Petrov Audio, Sofia, and his papers are Bulgarian and real. His code name in the file is Sandgrouse. He has been in Sofia on the Petrov Audio payroll since November 1995, learning the installations by number, so that his hands on the cabinet on the 3rd of April 1996 will move the way a technician's hands move. The head of Abu Hilal's household security is a retired political security warrant officer named Naji Tufail. He is 62 years old, 30 years in the coastal branch before he retired in 1991, hired directly by the target on a friend's recommendation. He vets Petrov's Bulgarian papers over the telephone from the villa's line to a number in Sofia that is answered by a real receptionist at a real Petrov Audio office. He walks the delivery van from the gate up the 800-meter hairpin drive on the morning of Wednesday, the 3rd of April, 1996. 4 crates come off the tailgate. He looks inside the top of each one. He finds Danish walnut cabinet panels and a manual in 3 languages, all of them Bulgarian, English, and German. He signs the delivery sheet. He walks the van back down. The 3 residence guards on the house that night are Sergeant Hakim Nohad on the main door, Corporal Iyasin Sayer on the pine screen service door on the landward side, and Private Bassem Rifai on the roof terrace. Iyasin Sayer's post is the one that matters. He is 19 years old, 6 weeks in the job, and his gaze is the coast road landward. The road any threat on this coast has always come from. The sea to his west is closed. He watches the coast road because he has been told to, and because he does not want the sergeant to shout at him again. Todor Petrov installs the cabinet in the western reception room for the whole of the afternoon. He wires the 4 speakers into corner brackets Sammy Debus's carpenter has already fitted to the spec that arrived with the crate. He threads the aerial for the satellite dish across the ceiling void, the void he has been inside once before in 1995, on a fixtures inspection under another name. He sets the record deck. He hands the target the manual in Bulgarian. Chalhub translates. The target thanks the Bulgarian in the accented English of his London years. Petrov leaves the villa on foot down the drive at 1950. The rented Toyota Land Cruiser is a half-kilometer back down the coast road under a stand of pines. The last of the coastal light is going. Sunset at Latakia latitude on the 3rd of April, 1996 is at 1853. First stars at 1935. The Fairuz cassette the target had asked to be loaded is on the machine. The album is Wahdon, an 80s record, a private favorite through his London years and his West German years, and a private embarrassment in front of Damascus colleagues who would prefer he liked Marcel Khalif. He has chosen the record himself. Abu Hilal and Sohaila sit down to their first dinner in the villa at 20:30 local. Sohaila is 54, Aleppo-born of a Sunni family, married in Damascus in 1974. She has been on the coast in the villa only twice before this evening, on brief visits during the fit-out. The dining room's west-facing picture window frames the last light of the sun into the sea. The service is olives from Sloan Fay, red mullet from the Latakia Corniche, the second vintage red from the Chateau Kefraya cases that arrived with the tile. The house staff, a cook and a house girl, both from Jablé, serve from the pantry and withdraw. The picture window turns from blue to purple in the last minutes of light. The intercept, the Israeli file, will remember him by lands from the week before. A telephone call from Abu Hilal to his mother in Amman, 79 years old and living with his younger sister. The call goes through the Damascus International Exchange onto a Jordanian line that is monitored, and a translator at Herzliya lifts it from the tape 3 days after it is placed. He describes the villa to her, room by room, walking her through it on the line. The dining room, the picture window, the pine screen, the terrace balustrade over the drop, the master bedroom's morning light. He says, in the sentence that will be the note he is remembered by, "It is the last house I will build, Mother, and the first one that will be mine." The sentence goes into the biographical file. The translator underlines it in blue pencil. Petronia reads it on the 5th of April, the morning after the operation, and closes the folder. At 2100 hours, the wall creeper channel from Nicosia to a listening post above Ras al-Basit goes to standing. The listening post is a rented studio flat on the Ras al-Basit promontory, taken by a Cypriot marine engineer's cover a year ago, with a long-lens Nikon on a tripod pointed at the ridge road. The operator is Nadav Reis, under the cover of Andreas Kyprianou, codenamed Kookaburra, the field commander, on the ground for the whole operational week. He talks to Nicosia in short bursts through a Cypriot cellular phone that reaches the LIBANCELL network at the border. Guy Melamed leaves the rented Land Cruiser on the coast road at 2140. He walks the last half-kilometer landward, up through the pine screen the target had planted for privacy, in the dead ground of the moonless early evening. The moon is behind them. It will not clear the coastal horizon before the strike is over. The floodlights on the seaward side of the villa throw 100 meters out onto the scree slope. They do not throw landward into the pine screen. A design decision Abu Hilal signed off on in 1994 in a meeting with Barouki on Rue Verdun that the draftsman took the minutes of. Iyast Enser, 19 years old and 6 weeks in the job, is at his post on the landward side. Gaze on the coast road. The service door to the mechanical plant room is 15 meters behind him. He has been told to watch the coast road. He watches the coast road. At 2200 hours, Melamed is at the edge of the pine screen. The plant room door is 8 meters landward through the last of the trees. In his coat pocket is the key cut from sheet S 14-15 months earlier and carried in a Cyprus safe from January 1995 until this morning. He has been on the villa's floor plan since October 1993. He has never stood on this side of its door. 22:10 hours. Melamed puts the key in the plant room's exterior Yale lock. The mechanism turns on the first movement. The lock was drawn to the key, not the other way around. The door opens on a hinge. Barouki's specification asked for silent. A small brass detail on shop drawing M9. A 9 Deutschmark charge on the tile and fittings invoice of the 12th of March, 1994. And now a 2-second cost saving on the operational timeline. 2211. Through the plant room door, past the boiler and the water tank on the wall bracket, up the interior service stair to the pantry hallway. Rubber-soled boots, the walnut and steel of the stereo cabinet had come in the same crate as. The kitchen is dark. The servants have gone to the servants' wing beyond the pantry to eat their own late supper. The cook is listening to Fairuz on a small transistor radio in the servants' kitchen. It masks the small sounds. 2212. Along the pantry hallway to the dining room service door. The Fairuz cassette is playing through the new stereo, 30 decibels louder in the reception room than the transistor in the servants' kitchen. The pantry door is open onto the dining room. The target and Sohaila are on the terrace outside the dining room, at the balustrade over the seaward drop. The picture window frames them. Sohaila has gone back inside to fetch a shawl against the coastal wind. Her footsteps pass the pantry door, 3 meters from Melamed in the shadow of the service alcove, and continue down the corridor to the master bedroom. 2214. Abu Hilal is alone on the terrace balustrade, in his own bathrobe over the linen suit, a half-poured glass of arak on the stone rail beside him, watching the last blue off the sea horizon. The wind has laid down. The sea is glassy. On the horizon, the running lights of a Cypriot fishing boat show faint at 8 miles. 2215. 2 shots at the base of the skull with a suppressed .22 caliber pistol. Beretta 71 platform, the standard intelligence service instrument of the era, with an external suppressor. The muzzle flash inside the cotton of the bathrobe hood is a candle flicker at a meter. The recoil is nothing. The target's body slumps at the balustrade, then falls forward against the stone rail, then to the terrace flags. The glass of arak stands on the rail unspilled. The tableau left inside the villa is calibrated. No forced entry. The bathrobe on the target. The half-poured glass of arak on the balustrade. The Fairuz cassette still playing. The signature of 2 shots at the base of the skull is a documented Palestinian faction internal execution signature. The Syrian counterintelligence, read on this coast in the mid-1990s, will recognize before it looks for anything else. It is meant to. The forensic read the branch will file inside a week is that a rival splinter reached out from Beirut and settled an accounts dispute over faction money. The read is not the truth. It is what the branch chief needs the truth to be. 2217. Melamed back through the pantry, down the service stair through the plant room, out the exterior door, into the pine screen. The Yale relocks behind him with the same silent hinge. He is on the landward slope by 2220. Iyas Nzer has not moved. His transistor radio in the guardhouse is playing the same Fairuz record on the same station, half a beat off the stereo in the reception room. 22:30 hours. The Toyota Land Cruiser is on the coast road, southbound, then northbound at the Al-Basit junction. 23:55. On the beach at Ras Al-Basit Fishing Cove, north of the village. The 12-meter boat with Cypriot registry standing off the shore break, its wheelhouse light out. Melamed wades to the boat. 0020, the 4th of April. The boat crosses the 6-fathom line and turns west-northwest for Larnaca. 205 nautical miles at 11 knots. 18 hours on the sea. Kookaburra follows in the Land Cruiser southbound to Latakia and out through Damascus on the morning flight to Amman. 0315. Sohaila's call to the residence guards, and then Naji Tufaile's call to the Latakia branch. Dr. Ghassan Karoubi, state doctor for Latakia, arrives at 0430. Certification is gunshot wound at close range. 2 shots to the base of the skull, no forced entry. The finding is closed at branch level within 72 hours as a Palestinian faction internal execution. 0700. The file is on the Nicosia station chief's desk. Lunchtime on the 4th of April. It is at Glilot. The Latakia Political Security Branch, under the invented Colonel Mohammed al-Sha'ir, signs off Karoubi's certification at 11 in the morning on the 4th of April. It is the tidy finding on this coast in this year. Foreign penetration on the Assad family's own coastal ridge in the spring of 1996 is the finding that ends coastal officers' careers, and the coastal officers know it. Al-Sha'ir signs the paper. A copy goes up to Damascus by the afternoon courier. The rejectionist milieu in Damascus is another matter. The tableau on the terrace is too clean. No rival splinter in the 10-faction alliance of Palestinian forces claims Abu Hilal. Nobody in the vanguard for the rejection of concessions calls for revenge on a named rival. Fawzi Kassab, the faction operations chief in Yarmouk, takes the 7 o'clock call the morning after from Sohaila and passes it upward in the Yarmouk offices through the day. By nightfall on the 4th of April, the Yarmouk leadership understands what its coastal officer will not say. A foreign service walked into a Syrian villa on the first night the man slept in it. They cannot say so. To say so publicly is to embarrass the Syrian host regime on its own inner ridge. And the Syrian regime is the reason the Yarmouk offices exist at all. The moment lands with a specific weight on the calendar. Israel is 100 kilometers south, tense in the run-up to Operation Grapes of Wrath. The campaign against Hezbollah in South Lebanon opens a week later, on the 11th of April. And the alliance offices spend that week on other work. On the coast, the morning is small. The body is flown to Damascus on the 5th of April on a Syrian Arab Airlines flight out of the Basel al-Assad International Airport. The burial is at a family plot in the Yarmouk camp cemetery on the 7th. 90 mourners attend. The faction issues a printed obituary that names Abu Hilal only by his kunya and thanks the Syrian security services for their diligence in the investigation. Abu Hilal's successor at the European finance desk is quietly named within a fortnight. His name is not written down here for the same reason. The Israeli file has been rebuilt around him since the day he was named, and this account respects the compartment. The villa itself is closed. Sohaila does not return to the coast. The gate on the 800-meter hairpin drive is locked in June 1996. The floodlights are switched off. The pine screen grows unpruned. In Tel Aviv, on the morning of the 4th of April, an intelligence file cabinet in a research division office at Glilot is opened for the last time on this case. Michal Dagan, Petronia, closes the 3-year composite ledger she has kept from Beirut delivery manifests since March 1993. The last entry is the invoice for the Bang & Olufsen cabinet, dated the 2nd of April, delivered the 3rd. 618 sheets, filed to a 3-ring binder that fills the top drawer of the cabinet. The file lands at Glilot in the first month of the new director's tenure, Danny Yatom having succeeded Shabtai Shavit in the March handover, and the coffin ships home that same week. Elias Nassour of Sin El Fil keeps his warehouse on Rue Charles Malik open through the Reconstruction years. He never crosses a border. He never carries a weapon. He never handles a name he was not going to handle anyway. Yigal Baruchi retires from Junction in 2001 and takes a job in Netanya running a small mechanical firm of his own. The trade, in a way he had not expected, has followed him home. Guy Melamed is on Cyprus for another 6 years. And then, per the compartments the file respects, out of the record. The paradox is not clean. From the operations side, the story is a Damascus-based rejectionist finance chief, 26 years inside a faction that helped fund the killings the Oslo track was designed to stop, removed by a mechanism that harmed no civilian, a copied stack of Sin El Fil delivery invoices, a shop drawing, a Yale key cut in Nicosia. No collateral, no street bombing, no inconvenient body left on a public pavement in a European capital. One man, in his own dining room, on the night the file said he was safest. In the ledger of 1996, Intelligence Operations by Israeli Services, it is the entry with the smallest violence footprint and the largest strategic reach. A rejectionist splinter's European finance desk quietly reset for a decade for the price of one man's opening night. The comparison the file makes, quietly, is to the Fatih Shakaki killing on Malta on the 26th of October, 1995, and the Yahya Ayyash cell phone strike in Gaza on the 5th of January, 1996. both real, both public, both drew the year's noise. Operation Formwork drew none. From the other side, the story is different. Every private construction paper trail in the world exists inside the same mechanism the operation stood up. The architect's draftsman, the contractor's clerk, the supplier's ledger, the shop drawing, the delivery note. If a foreign service could walk into a Syrian villa on its first night through a locksmith's cut in an office in the old town of Nicosia, working from a shop drawing detail on a sheet numbered 14, then the paper the world walks on is not private paper at all. It is intelligence in slow rehearsal. Any high-security target who builds anything is drawing his own map for 3 years for anyone patient enough to read it. The doctrine, once demonstrated, will be studied, not only by the service that used it, but by every service that files this operation next to their own cabinets. The next villa on the next coast, built by the next target on the next hillside, is already partly drawn by strangers before its architect signs the retainer. The engagement question is put here once. Once a service has proven that a private construction project is a legible intelligence surface for 3 years before it is a house, can the doctrine be limited to the men who deserved it? Or is Operation Formwork a demonstration, a whole trade, every architect's draftsman, every contractor's clerk, every supplier's ledger, will one day answer to in a way that reaches past its first target to the ordinary paper of the ordinary life? Abu Hilal's mother in Amman was told her son had died of a stroke in his coastal home. She died in 1999, still believing it. The answer to the question is not the videos to give. It is the audiences. Was Operation Formwork a discipline the intelligence services will keep to their own worst enemies? Or a doctrine the whole construction trade will one day answer to? Put your answer in the comments. The argument matters more than the video. Subscribe if you want the next file, and share this one with the person you trust with harder questions.